and welcome back to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. Super excited about today. Not that I'm never not excited, but we've got an interesting story here for sure. We have Nick Bissett with us. He's the founder of My Organic Turf. They actually just sold out to Fairway Lawns, a PE company that's backed by Morgan Stanley. So we're not dealing with any small company by any means. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation about PE. I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversations about why he went PE. I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversations of how he got there, and all the stages in between. So I'm really excited. But Nick, welcome to the show, my friend.
Jonas, thank you so much. It's an honor. Not worthy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. We got connected online, and again, I love seeing people do big things. And he told me his story, and I asked him questions back and forth. Like, dude, we got to get you on the podcast. It'd be awesome. So, again, I just wanted to thank you for your time. But Nick, it's the same question I ask everyone because I just really, really love to see, like, what makes entrepreneurs tick. Like, what's that thing? But what was your background? What were you like coming up? If you and I are, sophomores, junior, senior in high school, who is Nick Bissett then versus maybe who he is today? But there's something that core, even at a young age. I don't need to keep talking, but here's a good example. Yesterday, I'm watching my daughter dance. And before she went on a dance, she's never said this before. And she said, "Dad, this is my life and I love it." And like instantly brought me back to me as a kid. I loved wrestling. Like every day, I hated missing practice. The only reason I went to school was because I didn't want to miss practice. I wanted to get better every day. I wanted to improve. It brought me discipline. It brought me the grind. It taught me how to lose, how to win. And like seeing the fire in her eye, like just brought me back. I was like, God, that's so awesome to have that passion. So I see it in her at a young age. So like I know what makes her tick. So with that being said, what was Nick like as a young kid? What was Nick like in high school? And what makes you tick?
Man, so similar. And, as you talk about your daughter too, it sounds like she's a future entrepreneur. I mean, she is, a performer like her old man. I mean, so, and I think that's who Nick Bissett was, in high school. I was a performer. I was heavily involved in drama, in AV, and all the any school plays or anything that we could do. I was always I was there, trying out backstage, whatever I could do. I just wanted to be a part of it, just kind of that community. And I think that kind of started because my parents were in theater and that was their background. So it was kind of, by osmosis, it was ingrained in me kind of at a very beginning. So, but I mean, it was about performing, or just being a part of that performance. Kind of like you said with your daughter, you said you see that kind of that twinkle in her eye that takes you back to being a wrestler, man. I mean, you're performing, that's a facet of theater. And that's who Nick Bissett was. I just wanted to be a part of that performance.
That's really cool. And then get into high school, kind of did the same thing. Was there like I know you're a performer, which is super awesome. Were you like outside of that? Was there anything that you did? Like, were you like I've heard some people on here like they're bad students or didn't really pay attention in school. Maybe you did, but that's what I hear. And then people had like side gigs where they're doing newspapers or side hustles at a young age. Was there anything like that with you?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of fall into that same metric, that a lot of our population does, or a lot of our specific PC population. Yeah. I was never, the best student, but, I was going to school, like, I don't want to date myself because I know there's a lot of young guns in this industry now.
There is,
but
we're getting older.
Yeah, yes, I hate to say that, but I graduated in 2000 and
I was 02.
There you go, man. So the focus then was get into college. If you don't get into college, yeah, you're screwed. And I got into college, thank God. So I was an okay student, but I didn't get into an Ivy League, and I managed. So that's, Nick Bissett in high school was driven, focused about getting into college, but I knew there was a different route because I knew my grades weren't going to get me in. Side hustles, of course. I mean, I've always been, a carny or a hustler, so to speak, love generating revenue. So always had some kind of, revenue generating machine, whether it was, snow shoveling in northeastern Pennsylvania or landscaping, but always that grind, that hustle was always there.
Yeah, that's cool. I fall in the same category. Not that I wasn't smart, because I was smart. I just didn't care. The only reason the only reason I went to school was so I didn't have to miss wrestling practice or football practice. and then the other half would probably be girls if I was being honest, because I'm just a normal guy. But that's the only reason I went to school. So even after high school, I was like kind of lost for a bit. Went to college for welding because I just didn't care. My friends were going for welding. It's like, oh, that could be cool, and I sucked at it. To be honest, it was terrible. My vision was bad, and I only went because I had a couple of friends that went. But my dad was always like, he was never an entrepreneur. My grandpa was. My grandpa did door to door selling, filling up his grocery route, which is pretty cool. He had like a freezer truck at the time, and he owned a grocery store, so he would just deliver groceries. So he never just wanted to go and do one or two houses. He would just go open, fill up her out, which is cool. And then my dad was he never really went full time entrepreneur, but he would always shoe horses. He's a farrier. So after his he worked 7 to 3 or 6 to 3. He'd get up at 4 a.m., go work on the farm, and then he would go do his day job that had insurance for his kids. And then he would go be a farrier for 4 o'clock till 9, 10 o'clock at night. So he had like 3 separate jobs all the time. So he was a hustler for sure. And obviously it runs in our family. That's where I got it from too. So it's pretty cool.
That is a hustle, man. That's wow. That's a full work day for sure.
And he was an animal. And I feel like all generations say this, but like all the younger generations just don't work as hard as we did. It's like looking back at like our great grandparents and our grandparents and then our parents, like they worked like physical hard labor, but that taught you so many things as a kid. Like I remember baling hay all summer long. I remember driving fence posts all summer long to build new fences for the horses. So, but again, it's like those small things that I didn't know it at the time were shaping who I was today. Like you get it when you're out there grinding all day long for 8, 10 hours a day as a young kid, pounding fence posts, sweating your tail off, not getting paid for it, but you got to see the reward of what you just built. Like those, like, things that I never thought about until I got older. I'm like, man, that really shaped who I am today. My dad taught me the true meaning of hard work, and you appreciate it more. These kids these days, like even my kids, even though they work hard, it's a whole different type of work hard. Like they're good in sports, they're good in school, but they don't quite yet have the appreciation. Maybe my oldest does because she was there from the very beginning, where I didn't have much. We didn't have a whole lot when she was young, so she's very frugal, very conservative. Now my youngest one, she's 6 and wants a Lamborghini for her 18th birthday or 16th birthday. So just a difference. But all just to say like that true like experience of real hard labor work, which you're used to, our generation's used to, it teaches you so much, it really does.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's sweat equity. I like that the generations past and that like, you talk of, about your previous generations. I mean, that's kind of been ingrained in you. I think, yeah, it's almost that instant gratitude that we want. And that's kind of why when I see a lot of these young guns now, I'm like, wow, they get it. They understand the sweat equity that is involved, that's not sexy. I mean, sweat equity is not,
It's not at all.
it's brutal, man,
Yeah, and I think people, especially if you don't know a lot about business and you get into it, you think you're gonna be able to do it way faster. Then you get slapped in the face pretty quick, like, oh dang. Like I remember, like this is a true story. I remember sitting in my house and my very first house that I rented, and I was like, if I could just get this business to $100,000 in revenue, like my life will be set. Like that's literally what I thought.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And then
yeah.
it's like, wait, and then yeah. Then you get there, like, well, that's not what I expected it's gonna be like. And it's the
All my
same thing with
problems are
almost
solved in a
every
million.
yeah. And it's almost like every revenue benchmark you think it's gonna be different, and they're all the same. Hold up, quick pause. If you're on a pest control company or fertilization weed control company, you're not in our Facebook group, you're choosing the harder path. Every operator that's in there is skipping years of mistakes because people are actually sharing what's working right now. So stop trying to brute force your way through growth alone. Search Pest Control Millionaires on Facebook or click the link below. And now let's get back to it. So after high school, I know you go to college, and I was reading your bio a little bit, but what do you go to college for? Or what do you decide to do there?
Man, so I've got a handful of useless degrees that look really good on the bathroom wall, but I've got one in history and political science, and again, they look great. But right after college, I went to China for like 2 years,
Oh,
and
awesome.
yeah, like I wanted to see what was going on. I kept hearing in college, hey, the Chinese economy, the giant is awake, and it was right before the Olympics, so I wanted to go check it out and see what was going on. So I went over there and spent 2 years there. I got into the country basically under the guise of teaching English, and kind of like anything in China at that time, this is like 08, 07, 08. There were a lot of opportunity in China. So ended up making some videos with the university I was there, making some English teaching videos, and doing some basically like some English teaching that ended up being, on television in all places of Wuhan, China. So the place I actually went to is called Shaogan, China, and it's right outside of Wuhan. So I spent a lot of time in Wuhan, well before the Wuhan virus, well before
everyone knows Wuhan.
Now everybody knows Wuhan, but when I was there, it was just, they call it the furnace of China because it's hot as hell there, man, and the spiders are big as hell there too, to be direct. But it's so I spent a good solid 2 years there, and just kind of.
What was that experience like? Did you enjoy it there?
I did. I had a great time, and I went over with a couple of buddies actually that are from college that are still there, and they've ended up married. Yeah, and they actually own an English school now over there. But it was a great experience. I mean, it was eye opening, and I mean, talk about sweat equity. And this is what I tell my kids all the time. Like, I'm like, guys, get off the TV. You think the Chinese kids are watching TV right now? No, they're doing their math. They're not making TikTok videos. They're hammering their times table. So it was sobering to see. I mean, like how hard that generation of up and coming is working there. So it was really good though. It was a good time.
Yeah. So they stayed. What made you decide to come back?
The food, man. I just got no.
I don't know. I like Chinese food. So
yeah, no. I was ready to come home. I mean, I can't really say like I was just, I felt home calling, and I was like, you know what? I've been here 2 years. Like, I'm ready to come home and get a job. I guess like real, like a 9 to 5, and like start putting money into a 401k, and like use that college degree that was that I still owed a couple $100,000 on. So.
Yeah, for sure. So what is the first job you get when you come back? And then where does Lawncare find you? I know you didn't, I'm sure you didn't think of when you're younger, like, I want to own a lawn care company to grow up.
Yeah. No, never. That was never the plan. I mean, I'll give you kind of the Reader's Digest version because there was a lot of hopping around, for my first job. But I ended up, kind of ended up using my my degree in doing news, being an anchor and a general reporter for a couple of stations in Western Carolina.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool. Did that for a couple of years.
No wonder why you're so good on camera.
Cheers, thank you. Did that for a couple of years, and wanted to be the next Tom Brokaw, or Brian Williams, and I mean that legacy media, as you know, man. I mean it's dying. So it was kind of that facet was retracting, and here I am chasing a very expensive, almost like a hobby. And I mean the most I earned as a reporter was like $20K. I mean the most I could have like was it was shekels. I mean compared to like what I wanted to earn. So did that for quite a while, and it was good. I actually got to an NBC affiliate for a hot second. So I'd made it to like I'd made that kind of like that step I wanted, but just the money wasn't there. And I ended up in copiers then, slinging copiers for like 5 years. And how I got into pest control, actually, like pest control is such a community or such a small world, like 4 degrees of separation or 3 degrees of separation. I tried to sell Seth Garber a copier at the time. He was running Envirotech, and he's like, dude, I have no need for a fucking copier. He's like, but let's get together and have some coffee. I love a good salesman. We got together, had some coffee. I kind of followed his career, and long story short, that was my seeing what he had done in pest control, and what he had built was kind of like my launching pad into getting into pest control.
Gotcha. So walk us through that. Seth's a G. Shout out.
Yeah, he is. He's kind of an OG, one of the OGs, I guess you'd say, or like that mid-range like OGs. But so I worked for Dex Imaging, selling copiers for about 5 years, and then I had another sales gig for another company for like 4 years doing some roof underlayments. And long story short, I was getting ready. I got canned. I got fired, and I didn't know what to do. And I had a non-compete in roofing, which is the industry I was in, and I didn't really know anything else, other than like roofing, because that's what I've been selling for like the last 5 years.
And when you say selling, were you chasing storms, or what were you doing?
No, sorry, like sell like on the manufacturer side. So I was
Oh,
working
gotcha.
for
Okay.
like a
Yeah,
family
yeah.
manufacturer, and we were selling like we had a book of business of like 98 million. So yeah, so I got fired, had a long non-compete, and I had a website up, and I kind of call myself the accidental entrepreneur, man. I had a website up, myorganicturf.com.
What year is this?
This is 2019, so this is 2019.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I had a I built myorganicturf.com like back in 2015, like shortly after I met Seth, and I was like, man, I didn't realize all the barriers of entry to get into pest control in Florida. Like I had no ID card, so I just built like this website, and I didn't have an owner operator or anything, and the website had kind of sat up there since 2015, and by 2019, I was getting calls, quite regularly, and got fired. And I don't know, by the grace, I mean, it was kind of everything. Like if you listen to that podcast, how I built this, there was that big facet of luck because I just got fired and the Roundup lawsuits had kind of hit. People were looking for a different alternative with their lawn. And it just started snowballing. Like I started to get, 10, 15 calls a day. And I just started going out to these calls, and I knew nothing about, cost per thousand or anything. And I started writing quotes, man, and I just started, kind of spraying and praying. And I didn't, I really didn't have a solid idea when I started. I started ugly, just to, because I knew I had something. I had a brand and I had something. So I just I started accidentally.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So were you like tech savvy? Because you were building a website in 2015?
Mildly tech savvy because it's changed a lot. So I built the website on WordPress, and
Which is a good choice. Yeah.
yeah, so still which was I guess 2015 maybe building a WordPress. Well, I guess that's still on par, but then my GMP or Google My Business page, I started putting a lot of stock into that, and I found a couple of good terms. Like I don't want to put them out there because I don't want my competitors to know, but I found a good couple of low-lying words, and I just kind of like went after those. And I would always ask people, how did you find us? What did you search? And they'd always say the same thing, and I'm like, awesome, so I know that's working. And then I mean, it was always kind of people searching the same thing, like for they were low-lying. It wasn't like the top SEO stuff, it was the low-lying stuff. And they were just saying, hey, look, we're finding you on Google, your Google reviews were good. But I wasn't, so that's kind of like really how it started to snowball. Everyone just said, hey, look, we threw you into Google and you were the first one to come up.
Yeah, but you started in 2015, launch website. 2019, you started business. In 2025, you go private equity. That's 7 years in a quick hurry.
Well, no, 2019, we really kind of started. So we weren't really official until 2019. Absolutely.
Right. It's the same. So 15, you build the website. 19, you start. And then by 2025, you already get swallowed up by PE. That's a quick turn of events.
It was. And when I started, I mean, that was kind of like, that was kind of like the plan. It was like,
It was.
yeah, I mean, because all the cool kids were getting bought, I guess. And that was kind of like, that was like, man, if we build something that somebody wants to buy, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah. So going into it, you're like, hey, I'm going to build this thing for the next 5 years, and I'm going to go private equity after that. Walk us through those first few years then.
So the first year, and I took on a partner about a year and a half into it, and I'll kind of get into that. But like that first year, it was just as the phone calls coming in, and it was me in a pickup truck, and I had no spray rig or anything, so I had like 15 backpack sprayers, and I was just loading them up, and I was filling them at people's houses, and I was working on my program, and I had a churn rate of probably like 50% because lawns were looking pretty rough, and then it was getting whittled down, pretty fast, that churn rate as I was learning what I was doing. But it was going so quickly that I, probably by like month 3, I needed a spray rig. So I put a 500-gallon rig into the truck. It's a 100-gallon rig into the truck. And then, bought some more backpacks. And I was just like Iron Manning it, man. I was spraying lawns. I was going into neighborhoods, hitting out the four corners. Talking to everybody, but it was mainly, the truck was wrapped, and it was just people were responding to the brand. And their first question was, are you a franchise? Are you, this was COVID too. So this is kind of like pre-COVID. So, I mean, it was kind of like a rough time too, because people were home, but they didn't want to approach you. But they wanted their lawns to look good at the same time. So it was,
and they had a little bit of extra money, and everyone was home looking at their lawn.
Yep.
But you were in Florida, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Florida was one of the only states that was pretty wide open, maybe except for like a month or two in there.
Yes, that was great too. That, I mean, we were, but
Thanks, Ron.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ron. But people still didn't want to like necessarily approach, the lawn guy, spraying lawns, and we didn't want to knock on doors. And I think, like Chad said, we don't want to like become like super spreaders. Chad Luke, your guest the other day. But so yeah, so it was, but we knew like right on. I mean, like year one, I knew I was like, man, I've got something here. People are responding to the brand. People like this. I'm selling more than I can handle. And that's when I was driving home one night at like 8:30 at night. It was a June. It was the next year. Like I was a year deep into it. It was 2020. And on the side of the road, there was like one of those, car side of the road, sales places. And he had a beat up spray rig there, or excuse me, an old beat up truck. And noticed the guy had like really nice watches, and I ended up trading him my watch, for my first spray truck. And I got my it was a Rolex that I traded him for, but I got the Rolex because I was a number one sales guy selling copiers, back in the day. So it was kind of fitting. Like, traded him this beautiful Rolex for my first spray truck, and that was off to the races. Then, man, I mean, it was just gonzo from that point on.
Couple questions there. Do you start out year one or year two with any software? And then what was the reason you decided to wrap your trucks right away, even if it's only one?
So we started off right away with Gorilla Desk. And I know that like I see in the communities, like a lot of people, I'm a huge proponent of Gorilla Desk, and I'm not paid by them or anything, but
yeah. So, I mean, he's been on the podcast multiple times, a great friend of mine.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what worked for us. I mean, we were like, you know what, and we wanted that, we wanted the coveted Silverback trophy too, man. I mean, that's, it's in here.
There's one right there.
There you go, man. So we wanted that. That was a goal to have that, and it was great too, because, it was Chris, I mean, like, his team, if it's something they don't have, they're gonna be like, all right, we're going to find a way, but it might not be now, but we'll get to it. So we started using Gorilla Desk. And that's probably, I think, right on, like, what kind of helped us get organized was just having Gorilla Desk, because it did so much for us, like, right away.
Yeah, it's super awesome. Shout out, Chris. You're a stud. I can probably say this publicly now because I wasn't before. But they just released an app for the door knocking side of things. And I was heavily, heavily involved in the app. And what no other app had was the functionality of measuring lawns on the door. So now, Door Knocking Mamba has the functionality of not only to measure houses, but to measure the lawns at the same time. So we have guys doing door to door. They go up, hit the button, measure super fast, and get accurate measurement of the lawn, so we can present the price of the door accurately.
Game changer right there.
It's right now it's free, so it won't always be free. There'll be a free version, but then there'll be a paid version as well. But I was heavily involved in that. Never been publicly talked about on the podcast, but I know that we just actually released it. I shouldn't say we, but we just actually released it. The website's live. It's really, really sick, and we're really looking forward to what that's going to do for our industry.
Awesome, man. Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. Chris is a stud, and he's willing to do anything and everything that it takes to help operators win. And there was just that piece in my mind. There was just that piece for us as lawn care people that was missing in the industry. So like he created it for us, and it's going to be awesome. So thanks, Chris. Shout out to you, buddy. And I just like, and he, he's still the CEO, still the founder, and he doesn't plan on exiting anytime soon. That's why, and I believe in him more than I believe in it, than all the big players right now. It's like that. Maybe they're smaller, but they're not very small anymore. But you get those big companies they adapt too late, or they just take a long time to adapt because you figure out that big ship is just hard to turn. Where if you're a smaller boat, it's easy to turn, easy to capitalize. And I think that's what Chris is doing it now. Like all the AI software that he's implementing, the door knocking apps that he's crushing it. So Chris Mareshi, shout out to you, buddy. So yeah, so we got on a tangent there as usual, but so you start with a Gorilla Desk, and then what about the truck wraps? Like, why did you decide to wrap your first truck? Because I get pushed back all the time. Like I literally saw it on my own platform the other day. Like, oh, I didn't see any. I actually just created a YouTube video around this topic today, but I had pushback saying, "Oh, I don't see any difference in ROI from a wrap truck just having a name on it." But why did you decide to wrap the truck first truck?
I'd say just appearance. I mean, I've always been big on, uniforms. Like in case any of my guys see this, I mean, I want them to see like I'm in full uniform. There's no stuffed collars. And same with the truck. I mean, I think it's kind of like, the movie Catch Me If You Can. Frank Abagnale's dad would say to him, why do the Yankees always win? It's this, everyone's focused on the stripes. I mean, much like you wrap your trucks pink. I mean, like it's a bold statement. And, when you show up in a truck that's wrapped, from top to bottom, the roof and everything, I mean, to me, it just says, all right, like obviously this guy's invested, and especially in Florida too, they know if a truck's wrapped, I mean, obviously, you're invested with insurance, you're definitely insured, so.
And they like to me, what I think too, also to add that is they're gonna judge you right away. They judge you by your brand. The brand basically will decide your price point. And then they also, like, in my opinion, and I can be wrong, like they see that there's a level of competence behind the brand.
Yes.
And so, and I'm not pushing back on any door-to-door companies. I have many door-to-door companies that absolutely crush it. They're big for a reason. They're awesome. I've had so many of them come to me and ask how we do our marketing because we're a little bit different. And every person that I see in those groups, they're saying, "Oh, I don't see a big ROI in a branded truck versus non-branded truck." I'm like, "Yeah, but I understand that because you don't know how to do any sort of marketing outside of door to door. 99% of your leads come from door to door. Maybe you don't need that wrap truck, but all of us who are branded well, that do old school marketing, even new school marketing, that don't do door to door, like maybe we just grow a little bit differently, you know?"
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I mean, so many times people say all the time as well, like it's a blessing and a curse because I get the calls as well. Some asshole, you cut me off, but I mean, we get more times, yeah, but more times than none. I mean, I saw your truck. I saw your truck in my neighborhood. And it's there's to me, I mean, there's no excuse not to have a truck wrapped to the gills with your brand. So it's multifaceted. It's a
Yeah, I mean,
billboard.
you have three trucks driving down the road. Two of them are white with the name on the side, with just your name on the side of the door. You just blend in with everyone else, in my opinion. Again, these are my opinion. What do I know? And then you have another truck that's wrapped in green or pink or blue, whatever, blue and orange. It doesn't matter. Like you just stand out naturally. People are just going to naturally look at you faster than look at the white trucks.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. I love it. So first year or two of marketing, I know you met Seth. Seth with a G. He's doing a lot of commercial properties, doing a lot of like door to door, but different type of door to door, like doing door to door at a commercial level. Were you picking up where kind of he left off, or what kind of marketing tactics were you doing besides online?
Absolutely. So Seth, yeah, I for sure. I mean, I always looked at. That's how I found Seth. Like I was soliciting. I used to always read the Tampa Bay Business Journal or the Book of Lists, and he was like the 30 under 30, or he was always in some kind of legacy media. That a lot of that price point where you want to be kind of still reads or consumes. So that's how I used to find a lot of my my leads. And so I used to ask him as well, like, how do you get all this legacy media coverage? And he's like, man, I hammer these guys until they, I create stories. And I was like, wow, I mean, that's impressive, man. I mean, I see him on the cover of, Tampa Bay Business Journal, Gulf Coast Business Journal. So I kind of did the same thing. Like, when we were setting this up, I think I told you, Fox 13, like they reached out and they're like, hey, we loved your story pitch about hitchhikers and Christmas trees. Will you come out and do this story? And when I was there, I'll be direct, and I don't want to count the chickens before they hatch, but I'm gonna make this happen. I pitched to them like, hey, look, let's do a week or a monthly lawn segment. You're doing a garden segment now because we've had a lot of coverage with legacy media. We've been in Fox a couple of times. I called them about the fertilizer, the red tide epidemic we were having, and told them, the different things we were doing with our practices and the different types of organic fertilizers we were using and what made us different. They came out, they did a story. We started losing some of our Google reviews. So I called, all the ABCs and the NBCs and all the action reporters and said, hey, look, Google is hammering my small business here and they're doing it to others. This is a great story. So they did a story. We had gas stolen from our truck. So I started calling all the news stations. I'm like, look, gas, this is back when, 2019 gas prices were high. That was the first time we were in the news. Like, this is a great story, They're stealing catalytic converters and gas from small businesses. So every year we've been in like the legacy media, and that's always been a great, jump start. And it's always helped with like the SEO and like the backlinks.
I was just gonna say that. Just
Yeah,
stole the words out of my mouth. Yeah.
boom. So that's always made us, having all those legacy backlinks, Fox News, ABC, NBC, it's helped tremendously.
Yeah, and I had actually written down on my notes. I always take notes for every podcast. And I was gonna say, like, you were a TV anchor, you work for TV. Like, how could you take that what you learned there and apply it to what you do now? That's exactly what you did.
Yeah, yeah. Doing what basically.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So that's like year one. Walk us through the next few years, and then how do you start getting set up to go PE?
So year two, like by year one, like it was just gonzo. Money was just, it was always kind of like, I don't want to say an ATM, but it was always generating. It was always great. It's always been great. It's always been growing. It's so people early on, started asking, like, hey, like even just, random customers in a lot of like well-to-do neighborhoods, do you need an investor? Would you sell some equity? So the PE started calling really early, multiple phone calls. And there it was kind of, we didn't know, who to talk to. So, that's when we kind of, we started talking to a broker. And it was, multiple years. It was by year three, PE and by year three, we were already like on our second offer that and we were really slow. We had a broker. We were just really trying to dissect and decouple everything. But then, by year five, boom, it was, that offer came in. It was a great opportunity too. It was something that, we aligned with what they wanted to do. And it just seemed, everything about it kind of seemed right.
So let's back up a little bit, because I know you said after a year and a half, you took on a business partner.
Yes.
Was he kind of a silent investor, or what was that like?
So that's my business partner, Eric. He was, so he and I met at Site One actually. And he was very strong with, the program, and he knows the kind of he's a really strong tech side, really strong operations side.
Yeah, so it's a really strong operator. Yeah.
Yeah, really strong operator. That's kind of the space he was coming from. Actually, his background was more landscaping, because he was just starting actually, like I was still rental licensed by this time. So I didn't even have a, full on license at this time. And he had a license, and, we were just talking at Site One. And he was telling me how he was kind of starting his business, and he was working for a mutual friend of ours. And I was like, hey, look, there's multiple ways to get to the top, and at that time I was like, through that vehicle, I was like, hey, look, do you want some equity? And I definitely gave him a large chunk of equity at the time. So, I gave him some equity, and it was kind of off to the races together.
That's cool. So then you guys decide, like, hey, like these offers are coming in. Like, what was your thought process through, like, do we accept the offer? Why are we gonna accept the offer? Was it more of just like take some chips off the table for a liquidity event? Like, walk me through like your thought process at the time.
Man, it was, it kind of all over. From everything.
That's tough, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a tough decision.
Yeah. And it still is, I'm still processing it. It's life changing. It's like, do you let your kid, it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Do you send your kid to live in Bel-Air to, and want that life, get away from, East Philly. But it was kind of that. It's like
in West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Exactly. So, and that, you're a millennial too, so probably, you probably knew, like, seeing some of the episodes, like when his mom comes back and how difficult it was. Yeah. For her to let him go with Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv. So, but same thing, it was like, I want to see this brand explode, and I want to see this, we weren't bought as like as a tuck-in, we were bought as a platform, and they saw the value in this brand, and they're like, look, we see what's, where the green side of this space is going. We look at Sunday, we look at, Pesty, we see these, we see that there's a big calling for this. And, you guys have this nice brand carved out. So we want to pump some juice into it, and, we want to grow this thing. So, we like the sound of that. That sounded, like we could do it on a larger, faster scale than if we were just, kind of two Irish lads doing it ourselves.
Yeah. But still, there's a lot of decisions that are in there. Like for you personally, and maybe for your partner too, was some of it the liquidity event? Like you say, like I want to keep some chips off the table. I put a lot of my resources into this over the last 7 years. Like probably want to see a little bit of a return.
Yeah, it was just, you exactly what you said, get some chips off the table. It was just that mindset. And I mean, I say this and I say this carefully, like I know, I mean, of course I have a non-compete and I want, I have every plan, now if, I've got a growth plan on the table, I have to obviously, I want this brand to grow, but God forbid should, I ever be shown the door and when my non-compete runs out, I mean, I know that I have the grit to rinse and repeat, to do something, whether it's in this space or do something again. I know that, I know my, that the hands can bleed and, go out and put the fence posts up and do what needs to be done. So, um, it was, but I wanted some of those chips off the table. Like you said, I wanted some of that, like that reassurance, I guess, just to say, hey, look, God forbid should something happen to me, like the key man of my family, that, at least there's something there for, my kids. And there was always just kind of,
Did they
sorry.
buy out 100%?
Yes, so they pretty 100% with yes, so they have 100% of the company. Yes.
Gotcha. So did they present you with options? And then when they first came in, they started like, I'm sure they brought in an entire team of, I don't know how many people to go through all your books, to the due diligence process. Uh, Walk me through that process. Was it stressful? Like,
So we sat down, we actually had three different diligent processes with three different not counting the group fairway that we finally ended up going with. But
so did you go to like, sorry, I don't,
no, go ahead.
just question. Did you go to like a bank first and like let the bank present it to other, like what did you choose to do?
No, so actually, we work and Greg Clendenin too. He owns Anthony and Clendenin, the Clendenin Group. Greg's an OG too. I mean, everyone knows him. So yeah. So Greg was great too. And like I probably one of your questions might be too. And he was also like Greg and I have known each other now for like 3 years. Like he early on he kind of introduced himself like online in one of the groups, and we got to knowing each other, and he had helped with an audit of the company, what the value would be worth, with kind of helping show, hey, look, this is what you're doing, kind of help almost get everything in order, so to speak. And he gave all that guidance as our broker, so I guess we are his client. And
Cool. And then did he put it out there like at an auction type?
yeah, so that world of P is still kind of new to me. So I guess, because again, it's so foreign to me too. He has those connections where, in that world of PE, that they say, hey, look, he has a book of businesses of groups, that are essentially listed on that, and says, hey, look, there's these two young bucks in Florida that, have a healthy EBITDA and a good looking brand. And, they're looking to take some, chips off the table. And as I said, he brought us three different groups, and we had three different diligent processes.
Any of them flying in on jets?
No, none of the jets. Yeah, we weren't, or like I was thinking that too. Like helicopter landing in the lawn. The neighbors are gonna love this. So none of that, man. None of that I was hoping for.
So then you said you went through three different due diligence processes with each.
Yes, very painful.
What was that like?
Oh man, very, very, very painful. It was like confession for every single receipt, and I mean every penny that's from day one that's ever been spent with your company. I mean they and a lot when you start off. I mean most guys know, like if that's not their goal, like to sell to private equity, but in the first 2 years, I mean it was difficult to to kind of keep track of expenses. I mean it was year two that we finally got a good accountant and a good accounting firm. But those first 2 years, I mean, we didn't have a great CPA. Like we were kind of flying blind. So the vetting process is just, it's very in depth. I mean, it's weeks. It's like multiple months, like 2-3 months of just
For sure.
Yeah.
And then did you guys decide which offer that you wanted to take? And was it necessarily, you don't have to say numbers or nothing like that, but was it the highest offer? Was it the payout structure that you like best? Was it your choice?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't, we could have walked away at any time, for sure.
Were you ever close?
Oh, from walking away?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm walking away from, Yeah, I mean, I for sure it's difficult. It's kind of like that Nicholas Sparks, the Notebook. I mean, it's when you put there, like I've bled for this company. Like I've missed countless recitals. I mean, I've missed hospital visits. For kids and wives, and it's I mean, any owner operator knows the sweat and the blood and the tears that have been put in, and yeah, I mean, it's so and it's like that and very emotional. So yeah. But yeah, why we came to with this buyer, how we decided was just everything really. I mean, their vision was the biggest thing. That was kind of it aligned with our vision, and the amount of resources too. Like they're owned by Fairway Lawns is owned by Morgan Stanley. So they're or rather backed by Morgan Stanley. So it's a great group, a lot of great leadership there too. And that was the other thing too. We saw a lot of the companies in our area that had been acquired by Fairway, and a lot of those companies are rock stars, and some of those guys are still there, or a lot of those guys are still there rather. And having that opportunity to work with some of those guys, seemed pretty fun.
Yeah. Did you decide to roll any equity at all?
We didn't. No. So yeah, but I mean, there's incentives that that
Of course. Yeah.
they're tied for us to bust our
for
ass.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So are you still working in the company full time today?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and again, there's no stuffed shirts. I mean, it's even crazy too, because I mean, I'm still doing, I'm still doing interior and, exterior treatments, and I did an aeration the other day. I mean, it's not, I'm not showing up in my Porsche, I mean, I could, but, I'm not, but I mean, there's no stuffed shirts. I mean, I'm still, still in the field, or, whatever I have to do to get it done.
Yeah. So what would be your title there now?
I'd say branch manager. That's what my title is now.
And are you tied to be, obviously you have, like you said, you have KPIs you probably have to hit to see the benefit in the back end. But could you walk away at any time, or do you have to be there for X amount of days or years?
No, I mean, I guess you could, I mean, like you could walk away from a marriage anytime, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, you could walk away from anything at any time, but yes, it'd be foolish.
Very detrimental. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Two questions. The day that you got the money deposited in your bank account, what was that like?
So it went to my wife. No, in all honesty,
Yeah, I believe you.
yeah, I am, and I've never seen a cent of it. So it's never like I see what it looks like, but to me, like I'm piss poor with money, and I wanted to take that off the table, and so I know it's there, and I know what's being done with it, but I've never really kind of like personally had like that moment where it's like it's hit my account, and I'm like, wow, that's good. So it's
What about your wife?
she's a school teacher, so very concerned. I mean, she's brilliant too. She went to UNC, graduated top of her class. Her brother-in-law is in private equity too. Excuse me, her brother's in private equity, and her brother-in-law is as well. So she comes from that kind of like a financial background, I guess. So she's but nothing. I mean, nothing. Like we live a very, very modest, humble life. So it's and in all honesty, with inflation, it's probably like one kid's freaking college taken care of. So yeah. So
Yeah. But if it's done right, you live off your interest, right? And just keep
absolutely,
making money. That's cool.
for
Well,
sure.
congratulations on that. But what was like the next day coming into work, knowing that you're the founder, but weren't the owner, the one in charge? Like, what does that look like? That's got to be a different. Is it hard?
Yeah, it was hard for like I've got one core guy that's been with me in the beginning, like Tim. I'll say his name. I mean, I love him to death too, and it was hard for him because like I was looking back on a Facebook post the other day too that it made me kind of tear up a little bit too. Like he said, I mean, he sacrificed a lot too. Like he really did. He was a key guy, and he said, man, he's like, I love working for a company that I know it's different because we're family. And I mean, I loved him, and like, I mean, I would like, I think like I've tried to be as good of a boss or a leader as I possibly could. I mean, Lord knows that you could always do things better, but that was the hardest part. Was just like the story I kind of had with them. I was like, boys, we're going to grow this thing until it's massive. And I mean, that was the goal, but I mean, it's different too. And, like your face, like you say, with taking some chips off the table and, giving you a little bit of stability in an unstable world. So that was the most difficult part. Just, with really kind of like my key guy, just, mainly Tim.
Yeah, because like for listeners that don't know, it's not like you can tell your employees or anyone what's going on behind the scenes until the deal is actually done. So walk me through that conversation of bringing the team in and talking to them. Were you by yourself? Was the PE company there with you?
So and that part was even awful too, because like, so I'll tell you that, like that part, that actually really haunts me too, because like it's you can't tell the guys, like, so you can't volunteer information. So there's some facet of lying. I mean, there really is.
Right.
Guys are coming in.
How you feel, like, yeah, morally, how you feel.
Yeah. You can't be like, hey, this is Joe and Tom. They're from private equity. We might sell to these guys. They're coming in to take a look, So, I mean, there were times when guys came in and, we had to say that, they were so-and-so with it, and then, so, I mean, it was, and I had that conversation, and then kind of like, it's a small world too, because I don't know how people knew, but like towards the end there as well, one of our larger clients had actually tried to buy us as well. And, which was even like, this is like a fourth offer actually. And they're owned by like another little sub investment group here in Tampa. And I told them to go pack sand. And then like a rumor got out on the street that we were going to sell. And he had approached me about that. And I brushed it off and I said, I'd never, no, that's not in the, it's not in the cards. And then obviously had to go in and tell the guys like, hey, we sold. And this is what really sucks. So I rarely take vacations, but it was my wife's, it was a family reunion, and I couldn't go in that next day. Like the group had their own kind of schedule. And so my partner had to go in and tell the guys like, hey, we sold. And I didn't, yeah. And I mean, I felt like I should have been the guy to do it. So
you almost felt like you were like, not on purpose, no, not what you planned, but almost feels like you're like a scapegoat almost in a way.
Yeah. It was kind of like, mom and dad are getting this kind
of. And I'm sure it weighs heavy on your conscience now.
Oh man. Yeah. And people, and our guys always use that analogy. It's like, it's mom and dad, and they always call him mom and me dad, and it's just like it felt like we were saying, hey, look, guys, we're getting divorced, and like but your dad's not here to tell you, he's off in Florida with his wife, or so or his new girlfriend, and it was, I mean, I felt like I owed them, like I owed them at least like, hey boys, because I mean they, like Tim's missed. I mean, a lot of those guys, they've made sacrifices, man. I mean, countless sacrifices. So
of course, yeah. So you're out of town, business partner goes in and tells him, was the PE company there too, or just him?
Oh, no. The group comes in. Yeah, they were great with the onboarding process and everything. Like, so
they'll start to re-interview all your guys, correct?
No, I mean, they like the onboard, like they kind of just, they basically, we've had a lot of our guys are very tenured. I mean, they're all like tenured. Like our I guess youngest 10-year guy is like close to a year. So, I mean, pretty much everyone's kind of like been there, from almost at the beginning, like, it's been like brother-in-laws, and there's always that kind of like that connection with everybody. But, yeah, so the one thing that they're excited about that, that they saw right away was, hey, look, you guys are going to get benefits. You're going to get stuff that we couldn't give you before. And mainly the benefits, like, that was huge to them. So when they found out like how things were changing in that regards, I mean, it was, they were pretty happy about it.
Yeah. Did you lose any of them through the process?
No, we didn't lose anyone. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing that, because usually you lose, like a lot of times you lose 50%. And of course you're still there, so that's helpful. It'd be interesting to see if, I'm just hypothetical, like if you leave or when you leave or whatever that looks like I wonder what the attrition would be like then with your employees.
They say that, once the founder leaves, I mean, it obviously, Steve Wozniak, et cetera. But I mean, obviously I think this, I was looking that up as well, like God forbid, but I mean, I want to say it's like 70-75% or something. So that it doesn't necessarily work out. So,
right. Up through those, well, you started 19 to 25. You went to PE this year, right? Currently?
Yes. Yeah. June. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many trucks did you have on the road at that point already?
So 8 trucks. Yeah. So it's been, Yep.
You guys grew fast. A truck and a half a year, like it's pretty good. What is their vision? And what was your vision? And you said that it aligned with the PE's vision. And what does that vision look like going forward for you guys today?
So they want to, obviously, we want to grow the brand. grow the customer service footprint. But I say obviously they have I don't want to say they have I guess a different plan, or rather they have a playbook, specific playbook that we didn't obviously have access to in the past. But I mean, their plan obviously is to just grow through continuing to push the brand, continuing to kind of do what we have done, what's been successful, and work with some of the other sister companies and just kind of continue to
Will they keep your brand the way it is?
Per my understanding, yes. Yeah. So so nothing's changed, our chemicals haven't changed, nothing is, so nothing's changed on the branding side. So everything is going to stay the same with the brand. Yes.
I love it. When you named My Organic Turf, right? What was your thoughts coming up with that? 'Cause it's a super clever name. I love it. What was your thought process at the time? And did you actually, were you doing anything different than most other companies as far as product wise?
Absolutely. And that's kind of how, when I started like the actual organic side of it, when I bought a house, I wanted to just. And my background is my background is a little bit in AG, and so I have an AG background, and really all lawns is a useless extension of a useless monoculture crop. So yeah, I mean, if you look at it that way. So when I bought my first house and I had kids, I was like, look, I want to have a beautiful lawn. I know it's a garbage, ecological disaster, useless monoculture crop. I don't have time to spray it. So, I started looking at some other companies, and, obviously I was asking product lists and, cultural practices. I was big into it. Because I spent a lot of time outside, and I couldn't believe, a lot of the crap was being broadleaf. So I was looking for a better way, an OMRI certified way to do things. So I started kind of, making my own program in my garage, using all OMRI certified products, like mainly horticultural based, and so again, all OMRI products, and no herbicides or anything at the time. It was just, hey, look, focus on growth, focus on pests. So that's kind of where My Organic Turf came in. So we were originally, when we started, it was, an all organic, program. And then obviously people don't want weeds. So then that's when
That's where it gets tricky, right?
Exactly. And then when you give them that, that kind of that I guess option of, hey, we don't have, it will be organic, but you'll have weeds, or, well, we can do it organic, but the weed side we can't, so, but we're going to take every precaution on the weed side that we possibly can. So a lot of people, they want the best of both of those worlds. So they understand, and so that's kind of where the organic side comes in.
For sure. So when it comes to application itself, I remember you said early on that you had like 20 backpack sprayers. Were you only spot spraying, or were you doing, like, then you said you got a 500 or 100 gallon sprayer, but then were you doing full application once you got the big sprayer, like pre-emergent, things like that?
Yeah, so I was doing, when I got made the transition from backpack to my first tank sprayer, I was still spot spray. I wasn't spot spraying herbicide at the time. I was kind of educating customer base. Hey, look, you're going to have weeds. Any big broadleafs I'll pull, but you're going to get grassy weeds, and they were okay with that, because they're like, okay, we understand. But then, as those weeds, I mean, it's Florida, weeds are gonna they're gonna take over quickly. So as they started to get uncool with it, and I had to make that transition. It started with the multiple backpacks, but no, it was a full, with that first sprayer, it was a full season mix. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. And then were you running year round? Obviously, you're in Florida, so you're doing a couple of pre-emergent applications in the winter.
Yeah, getting my 2 pre-emergents down, and then I'm there every month. I mean, heck, we'd be there every 2 weeks if we could, to keep up with the, mowing if they can. So, but yeah, we're there every single month.
And what's like? I know you talked about doing aerations recently. Was that more of like a fungal thing, or just guys provide aerations in the fall like every other company? What was that like?
Yeah, providing aerations in the fall. I don't want to say like every other company, because there's that side of cultural aspects, and that's kind of where we're a little bit different rather. So, I mean, this customer for sure, or rather these customers, I mean, there's a lot of compaction at St. Augustine, they're having some trouble with it. So it's, for those, it's specific, obviously, for those needs. But yeah, but still running aerations. I mean, still, I was on the machine yesterday. So
they still have And it's like but
Yeah.
mine are I can't mine are from the gym, not from the aerator. Although um, I was just talking about the story not too long ago. I had bought a company last year, and um, but wasn't a very big company. They only had 3 technicians, four technicians in the summer. They were just kind of set up that way. But their main technician was out of town because his dad was, I think, close to on his deathbed. I don't know if he ever passed away. I don't think he did, but he was really, really sick. And spring was hitting. We had planned on him showing up to work, and then he didn't show up. I'm like, something's got to be done. So I got in the truck for a week and a half, or maybe of those 2 weeks, or maybe I worked like 3 or 4 days a week just spraying houses. Like, I just got to do what I got to do at sometimes. Everyone's like, you got in the truck. I'm like, it's not like I don't know how to do it. Not that of course I didn't want to do it, but things have to be done. They just got to be done. And I wasn't going to lose customers to the new company, and I'd rather be the face of the company showing up to their first, application of the year being me. So it worked out really, really well. But yeah, you just got to do what it takes sometimes. And it's just like, well, and it's funny because like sometimes you got to practice what you preach. But I was like, if the quarterback gets hurt in a game, does the coach go in? No, they have a backup quarterback. So it's like taking that same philosophy, and I'm thinking the whole time that I'm out there, like, why am I out here? But then it's like we're just in a pickle all the time, and I had to get it done. We have, I don't know, 75, 85. I don't even know how many trucks we have on the road, something like that. So, but could have probably filled the void, but I just went and did it myself because part of it was like showing my team that I'm not like I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Was part of the aspect too. Like I just got to get it done. We're gonna get it done. And I think I gained a lot more respect from the new technicians. Like, holy crap, there are CEOs out here like grinding with us. Like, hell yeah, let's go. And I was still getting reviews. I was still getting upsells. I was still doing it all. It's not like I forgot how to do it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's what I love too. Like, I love meeting customers. I love talking to people. I love meeting people like yourself. It's so fun.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
As I said, so many of our customers have really cool stories like ourselves and doing big things. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is I know like you went through a lot of changes in the past 6 months, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah.
How has it been on you physically, emotionally?
It's an emotional game. I mean, and it's funny because, and hopefully we could talk about this too, which I was
I'm
thinking
on no
about.
time crunch.
Awesome. But I mean, mental health. I mean, as anyone knows, like I'll kind of, mental health, I think in this industry, especially like no one, I don't really see a lot of, guys talking about it on the groups or anything. But I mean, I think in this industry, it's a different kind of mental health. Like, especially if you're owner operated, like it's like being a cop. I mean, you're going from like boom, boom, boom. And especially if, you're dealing with customers that think, you owe them the world for that $60. And, I mean, it's an emotional game, and very few people like understand, that, except like, like much like this community you've built. And, emotionally right now, I mean, I don't know. It's still kind of like, I don't know where I am. I mean, I'm getting ready to head to Paris with my family on Monday. We're going for 2 weeks. For Christmas, we're going to Paris,
Congratulations.
Belgium, cheers, and Amsterdam. Just gonna take the video, of the phone, do some recording, like just try to have some fun and I don't know, decompress and kind of. I guess I haven't really kind of like, I don't want to say accepted it yet, but it just feels weird because customers ask me that all the time. They say, "Well, you're the owner, so you should know," and I don't want to. Tampa's a small, big city, so I don't want to tell people, well, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to lie to people, so I tell them, well, I'm not really the owner anymore, and then it goes into like a full conversation because when they find out, and they're starting to find out, like I don't want them to think that I've ever concealed it or I've lied to them because if they drop me for service, they'll drop this company for service. They'll still know me as Nick Bissett, and truth be told, I'm still the one that speaks to 90% of them. So
Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, and I think like the norm in our industry is that it is super stressful all the time. Like, we're dealing with every problem. Like, I hear people talk at the gym or in public about their problems. Like, I just shake my head. I'm like, but the only problem I had to deal with is someone didn't respond to me on Snapchat and they saw it. I'm like, that'd be the worst. Like, I literally heard that at the gym today. I'm like, I just shook my head. Like, that's the only problem that I had to deal with. Life would be good and bad at the same time. But it's stressful, and I think I see it a lot. people just they lose themselves physically, mentally. After I was talking to a guy yesterday, he called me up out of Texas, and he's like, "Yeah, I stopped drinking about a year ago." He's like, "But it was just normal. I go work my job, I work my route, come home, and I just drink a six pack every night." He's like, and I think like it's just probably more normal than not normal. I think it's just because people are just trying to decompress in their own way, and I fell victim to that time and time before, but um, it doesn't help at all either. It only makes things worse. Makes things worse, and so like people fall victim to that trap too. And even though it's probably more common than not in our culture, and I think just doing everything that you can. This isn't a rant to say to stop drinking. I'm just saying that when I stopped drinking and stop like maybe in a way like running away from my feelings or thoughts or whatever it may have been, like and hitting them head on, like my whole life changed. So I think it's just something important. Just we all know what it's like. We all work really hard. We stop at the gas station. We eat shitty food for 5 6 years. We're working 60 80 100 hours a week. We're dealing with shit when we get home. Like it's not easy. So like just take care of yourself first. It's like they tell you on the plane. Every single plane you go on to, like something happens, grab the oxygen mask and put it on yourself first because you can't take care of yourself. You can't take care of your kids, your family. So just always make sure you're taking care of yourself. So it's cool that I can tell just like I said, just in your emotions, that it's obviously it's a big change for you. Now you get kind of reset. You get to go to Paris. You get to hang out with your family for 2 weeks, which you probably have never done.
No, I've
And you get to go
never,
find your family. You get to go find yourself, and just like try to like just think about what just happened. It'll be interesting what happens on the other side of it. Like I'm excited for you. It's cool.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
What is the um what does your future look like? I know you're going to be there for a while. What's the future? What is your vision for the company? Like, how much of a role do you have in store? Like, walk me through that
Yeah.
of
I
as
mean,
much as you can.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully, hopefully my future's so bright with that I've got to wear shades, especially with this company. But yeah, I really do. I mean, I hope that this is a great company, a great team. I've got a lot of guys that I work with now that are brilliant. I mean, guys that went to Wharton, went to top schools. Then I've got guys that have built companies much bigger than what we've built, and guys that are just like my immediate boss. Kevin from your green team. He was one of the owners there. He's brilliant. I mean, a lot of brilliant guys that I work with. So I want to grow this as much as I possibly can, and I hope I really do. I hope that I'll have a future here with with this company, and I'd like to, of course. I mean, I'd like to build something again. I'm a builder, like a creator, an entrepreneur. I think it's in our blood. So of course, I've got a couple of ideas and things I'd like to do, but I don't have anything immediate where it's like this is what I want to whittle out and this is what I want to focus on right now. It's just let's focus on growing my organic turf. I don't have all the equity, but still at the helm, so to speak, and that's kind of the immediate the immediate focus right now.
Love it. Did they change anything?
No, I mean, quite a few positive things have changed. Yeah, for sure. Like uniforms. We're getting like processes like that. Like we never used who was it Syntaz before. Or, some being able to purchase some chemicals and benefits and the safety. I mean, being having a Zuga, and having like devoted teams just for the safety. So a lot of positive changes. So yeah, there's been quite a few system changes.
I say, what about like on the day to day? Did they change any of your operations at all? Did they clean things up? Did they give you some suggestions? Anything?
Not yet. I mean, we're still in that process. So I think that's all coming down the pike, in next year, because it's still, we were always a pretty smooth operation. I mean, pretty well run. Pretty safe as well. We never really had a turnover with guys. So I'm sure it's going to come. I mean, there's obviously much better ways to do things. They've obviously done this, many a time. So I'm sure many things will change. but nothing too drastically has changed just yet.
That's awesome. Couple questions right out the gate from there. How often do you meet with the PE company? Is it like once a quarter?
Oh no, I mean there's daily meetings with I mean it's there's huddles with different groups and my boss and
Is that like via Zoom? Are they coming in?
well, both. I mean, yeah. So because they've got a very good footprint in our market. So I mean, there's both, and then there's that resource too. Like now, we've got a, before. I mean, I didn't have a multi-million-dollar marketing team. Now we do. So I mean, there's a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of local support. So
Love that. And then as far as turnover goes, and you said all of guys are 10 years. I've been over your newest guy's a year. How are you able to keep your guys so long? I know you said you felt family oriented, you treated them well, but we do anything outside the box there?
we did. I mean, at least I think we did. Could we have done it better? Yeah. Do I? I mean, that's kind of another area where I have regrets as well. Like I wish that maybe, I would have.
My next question was I don't want to like wreck it, but my next question is there anything that you do different?
Yeah. I mean, I guess with the guy, how we were able, like, you can always be nicer. You can always be better. You can have always done better things. I mean, for sure. Like, I like to
We're
think.
human.
Sorry?
We're human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I always thought we had a good culture. I always think, we do. I mean, we have retreats. I get the guys. Excuse me. We have retreats. We get the. We always do different events. I'm always. I don't know. We're kind of. We're always. I mean, it's like being firemen. That's kind of the analogy I always use. Like, I try to keep the the break room stocked with everything the guys like. I try to do everything I can, for them, and still kind of be a boss too at the same time. Like it gets difficult because being a small company, you try to walk that borderline, like we're friends, but at the same time you're like, well, shit, man. I mean, this is a machine to generate revenue, so I've got to kind of ask you to tuck your shirt in and make sure, so it's it's a fine line to walk, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Because you're usually with these people more than you're with your family.
Yeah.
So they're like a second family. You're with them every day, all day long. And then you said you have a marketing team, which is a multi-million-dollar marketing, which is super cool. How much has the marketing changed since P took over?
Well, really, we haven't really started doing anything with, on the marketing side just yet. So we're still, that's just me on the marketing side still. So we haven't been fully integrated with the marketing or any side of that, because it was just in June that we, actually were acquired. So they haven't fully started doing any of the, like the day to day, but for things like, flyers and signs and whatnot,
Sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the marketing teams, they just haven't quite started yet. It's just in June. So it's really fresh. It's less than 6 months, which is cool.
Yeah.
Any changes that you see coming that are coming down the pipeline?
No, I mean, I wish I had that ability to, to
crystal ball.
Yeah, but none. I mean, I can, in my imagination, I have some, but nothing that,
Yeah, anything that you would have done different, like regarding the PE from the very beginning that maybe we could learn from? Or maybe it was all perfect. I don't know. Like, is there anything that maybe that other operators that are thinking about going PE should think about?
Yeah, I'd say, if that's your goal, like in starting out, make sure to have a really good CPA, like a really, really good CPA. And and just know your books. I mean, just know your books inside and out. And that was the one thing, like with us, I mean, our books we would do monthly compressed statements from our CPA, and like people would solicit us all the time, like bookkeepers, and we're like, look, dude, we're doing monthly compressed statements from our CPA, and they're like, well, nobody's doing that, why not just do quarterly? And we're like, no, like since she did everything, our books, and does everything rather. So I'd say that's like the biggest thing. I would say, just know, if you're going into it like with that goal, from day one, when our books were kind of messy, like I wish I could maybe turn back time and say, man, I wish from day one that I would have had everything lined up, that I could just look back and say, holy smokes, those were my ad backs. This was actually what that true number is, where, but you think, oh no, I'm messy. It'll sort itself out one day. I'll get there. But it's like you said, you set that goal, you hit 100,000. Like, well, I really meant, 500,000. Well, I really meant 1 million. And it's like, if you don't have those kind of those structures in place, that's my biggest thing. I'd say, my biggest regret is just from day one, not having everything, just as
And did
organized.
they literally go back from year one?
Oh yeah. I mean, you go back to, absolutely from day of inception for sure. So
Yeah. Thankfully, I hired a CFO full time before I could afford it. It worked out really good. But that's one of the main reasons I did it. There was just way too many moving parts. My CP at the time, so it's one of those weird things. Like I look back at it now, just thinking, like, shake my head, like, of course, like, we just outgrew our CPA firm. Like, they just couldn't keep up with this. And I was like, oh, they're a big firm, and I never really thought about it. And then I was like, what is going on? And then I was like, light bulb went off. I'm like, God, Jonas, sometimes you're dumb. We just outgrew them. Like, way too much going on. They couldn't keep up with us. And so when I hired my CFO, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, it cost me a couple $100,000, didn't have the money to do it. But I was like, I know that this will pay for itself. And thankfully it did. I'm not saying that we're perfect, but man, is he good. Like, he knows more about numbers than I'll ever remember. Like, he probably forgot more than I'll ever know. So it's just pretty amazing that we have him on our team. So it's pretty cool. And funny enough, is like when we first met was 8, 10 years ago. And he was actually a controller for a big construction company, like 30 million, $40 million, something like that. And I told him that one day he would work for me. And he literally laughed at me. Like, not in a mean way, but he just laughed at me. He's like, yeah, I've heard that a million times. And then 3 years later, I don't know, it was probably 5 years later, because that year he like started doing our books for us, like remotely, like a fractional CFO. And so he was working with us for the last few years. And then I sold off the company, went on the Pest Badger, and started growing this company. And then I flew him in. He's like, Jonas, I'll never doubt you as far as we go with this thing, because everything that you said you've actually done, where most people don't. And I'm not giving myself a pat in the back, just telling you the story. And yeah, and then our third year in the Pest Badger, he's worked here, so it's really, really cool. It's made like the amount of the amount of things that man knows is pretty incredible.
And using it, I feel a lot of our space as well, that's not our strength. So,
It's not.
yeah. And
It's definitely not mine.
yeah, likewise. And that's why like having somebody in that space, like, being like that crutch that you can lean on, that, yeah, I mean, that's
And I think a lot of it is just being self-aware of who you are, and just saying, hey, we are human. Like, we have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, and if that's your weakness, hire that person.
Absolutely.
It'll make things go way better for you, make things go way faster for you. Every time that I've spent 6 figures on a person, thank God, knock on wood, I've known for a couple of years, and they just accelerated the business so much faster.
Nice.
Yeah. So what is I know outside of, you have your trip coming up, which I'm really excited. Hopefully I get to see a lot of pictures of you and your family. That'll be cool. Lots of videos, hopefully. Outside of that, I know you're working. I know you had Seth. Did you have any other mentors along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Greg Clendenin has definitely been one for sure. He's been a guy that I've asked some questions to, and has been a great sounding board. And but I guess like everyone kind of talks about like how they had that one, that what's the word I'm looking for? That one. Not protege, but what's I can't even think of that leader, or rather that mentor. There we go. Couldn't think of the word. I never had that mentor, unfortunately. I mean, I put it out there. Like, I'd asked a couple of folks, like, hey, look, I'm pretty green behind the ears. I know I've got something great here. I don't have a great business acumen. I'm more of a marketing guy, and that's kind of how I've always, much like a lot of, I think I've heard you say it too, we're marketing companies first and foremost. So I knew that's where I shine. So I always looked for that business savvy person to kind of be a mentor, but never really found it. I hate to say it. And, but I found it in the form of like, this group, and like, and that's kind of the way I found it, in that form of like community and in groups like that. But I never had that one individual that I can call and say like, hey, what should I do here? Is this what you did? Can you kind of school me on that? So.
Yeah. Gotcha. Were you much of a reader, a podcaster, or do you like to learn? How do you like to learn?
Yeah, I mean, all the above, like a voracious consumer of information. So, definitely, I've read a good amount of books, listened to some podcasts. But I'd say the biggest book that I've read that, kind of really, like Art of Racing in the Rain. I mean, it's not even a sales book or anything, but just kind of like, hey, look, I mean, that's kind of, my, what I've kind of always like, I have to conjure a quote or something, like that's always been kind of my go-to. But yeah, I never really found the, other than, getting ready to read Zip Code Kings, but I never really found the answer in like.
Thanks for the shout out.
No, yeah, boom, boom. I did, and I read Danny's SEO book too, early on as well, and that was great. But never had like a clear kind of like a Bible that for our industry yet.
I've said this before, like about the book. Like, I don't know. They asked me if I want to write a book, and I was like, no, not really. And then I sat there and thought about it for a while. I'm like, you know what? I think our industry needs this. And so I was like, what can we talk about that would deliver as much value to our industry as possible? It's like, that's what it was. It's like the playbook of how to grow your company. And like, this is what we're doing. Hardest part was coming up with the name. And I actually used my following to help me. So I put on a couple of different like options for the book, put a couple of different for the options for the book cover, and like people were just voting. And I was like, actually, it was a really, really cool process to do. And then I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know, sell 50, 75 books. Like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden it hit the gate run with like 500 books right away. I was like, holy man, I'd never really, especially because it's all organic. Like, we've never paid a single ad. It's just all organic. And the book took off. Not that we sold millions of copies. It's not done yet. We're coming out with the audio version soon too, which will help sell probably just as many. So it'd be pretty cool. But just like knowing that people reach out and like they post your book for you, or you see it in groups, like we're really making an impact, which is what I love the most, like giving back to an industry that's given so much to me is kind of what it's about. Like, I want to leave this earth knowing that I did my job to give as much value as I possibly could. And I don't ever want to have something in my mind that I haven't shared or taught somebody. So the more that I can help people win, I think will help me win in the long run,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Legacy too, man. I mean, that's, and like that's lifting people up. And you've said that before as well. And I mean, it's not just, it's not making money. I mean, it's just like so many people's livelihood, their identification. I mean, how their freedom. I mean, and, giving them that blueprint where like I felt lost so many times in a truck by myself. And,
me too. Yeah.
And to have that Bible and that book and that that platform. I mean, that is like, and your mission, like to lift people up in the space. I mean, it's clear, like, and that's why I think it's so contagious and it's so like radioactive, because I mean, people want to be lifted up. I mean, they want to, like it's like I just saw somebody post on LinkedIn today too, like Brandon Rich actually, and he was posting about the book and how, hey, look, I've read this cover to cover. I haven't read a book in, multiple years, but this book, and that's just like, dude, I gotta read the book. So
yeah, again, I didn't even see that, so it's really cool. Thanks, Brandon. I don't know Brandon. I've seen him in groups too, so it's cool. Don't know him personally, so just just going back to reiterate, like, just knowing that the book's making an impact and helping people, that's amazing. If I help 500 people, like, unreal, and hopefully the podcast and the YouTube channel do the same. That's just all that it's for. Awesome. Well, I have one last question for you, and we kind of jump off, unless there's anything specific you want to chat about. But up until this point in your career, what are you most proud of?
I'll tell you what, man. What I'm most proud of, I'd say, it's kind of cheesy, but I'd say that the type of human beings that I'm raising in my kids. I look at their emotional intelligence and I look at their empathy, and and I think that's the metric. I think it's not, like it's not the things, it's not. I mean, that's my legacy. That's like my ultimate legacy is just like, hey. And I think you're a father, man, and I think any dad knows it. And I mean, that's when I look at, and I'll tell you what, man, I'll show you this. My little girl, she made me this for my birthday, and it's a box, and I keep it in and it's scenes and arts. It's scenes and quotes from The Art of Racing in the Rain. It's one of our favorite. Well, it's her favorite movie, and it's one of my favorite movies and books. And she put all these little quotes, and it's such a great book too. But that was her gift to me, and I was like, it wasn't. So I know in my heart of hearts, it's like, man, I'm raising a good human being that is empathetic, that is kind and compassionate, and she's not on TikTok or any of this stuff. So that's what I'm most proud of right now. And that's
is that your only child? You have one
daughter? I've got 2 daughters. Yeah, I got a 10-year-old.
Cool, awesome.
And cheers.
Cool. I got all daughters too.
I saw, yeah. So so it's
I do.
Yeah. So, and around the same age too. So
yeah, my oldest is 15, 10, and 6. So yeah, I get it. They have a wrap around their finger, and yeah, it's awesome. They're like the one thing in the world that could probably make me emotional at any time. They're awesome. And they're all so different. They're all like, it's crazy. Much as they're the same, they're different,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, again, I appreciate your time with us. Thanks for sharing your story. I love what you've done. Can't wait to see what you do with this company or what you do next. It's going to be fun to watch your journey. It's been fun already. And again, thanks for being here.
Jonas, thank you so much for having us. And likewise, man, or having me rather. Looking forward to seeing you build this out and the future of Pest Control Millionaires, man. I know this is in its infancy.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, but the podcast isn't free. Please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app. This makes a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions about your business or your personal life that you'd like answered by me or any of my podcast guests, please send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about our marketing class, we do a live version every Thursday night. Check out our website at pestcontrolmillionaires.com. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one.